Ladies and gentlemen, let's take a moment to confront a truth too often ignored in courtrooms, headlines, and conversations around the dinner table. Because when we talk about consent, we cannot separate it from fear. When we talk about choice, we cannot separate it from power. And when we talk about abuse, we cannot pretend it leaves space for freedom. In the trial of Sean, Diddy, Combs, the defense admitted something few expected to hear in open court: their client was violent. Their client had an out-of-control temper. Their client hurt people, but they argued that none of that violence was on trial. The charges were for racketeering, for trafficking, for criminal conspiracy. The abuse, they claimed, was just the backdrop. A toxic lifestyle, yes, but not a crime in this courtroom. But ask yourself, what happens to consent when it lives in the shadow of a fist? What happens to a yes when the last no brought bruises, fear, humiliation? Victim after victim, in cases like this, face a choice that isn't really a choice at all. Do you say what they want to hear? Do you survive the moment by surrendering to it? One witness, Ventura Fine, stood on the stand and said it plainly. She told Combs what he wanted to hear. She pretended to enjoy the abuse. She convinced him she looked forward to the freak-offs because it was safer than telling him she didn't. Because telling him the truth had consequences written across her body. This is not consent. This is survival. And Katie Ray Jones, CEO of the National Domestic Violence Hotline, explained it best. She said, "Victims know what their partner is capable of, and consent may be made under duress. That should not be considered consent. Let that sink in. Consent under fear is not consent. A forced smile is not permission. A terrified yes is not agreement. It's strategy. It's survival. It's staying alive for one more day." So when the defense argued that Combs' partners chose this life, we must ask, what choice did they really have? Were they free to walk away? Were they free to say no? Or was their freedom stolen the first time a hand was raised against them? The legal system struggles with these questions. It is easier to measure bruises than to measure fear. Easier to read contracts than to read the silence in someone's eyes. But if we want justice, real justice, we cannot look away from the messy, complicated truth of abuse. Because consent that is forced is no consent at all. Power that controls every breath, every word, every action, that is not a relationship. That is captivity. And when we pretend otherwise, we fail the victims who trusted us to listen. So today, beyond verdicts, beyond defense strategies, we must remember this. No one consents to survive. No one enjoys being controlled. And no one should have to explain why their fear looked like agreement. Because at the end of the day, abuse is not a lifestyle. It is not a kink. It is not something someone chooses because they love the person who hurts them. It is violence, and we have a responsibility to name it as such.